So, welcome to your development session, day one. And from today onwards, we'll be exploring all the territory of Salesforce along with the development, few of the configuration concepts. But in case you are not from the Salesforce or IT background, don't worry. I'll give you some pointers to study so that you can understand the background. But for a Salesforce developer, it is a mandate to have at least some basic experience of Salesforce administrator. And the reason for that is a configuration. So everything that you need to build needs some backbone. That backbone is your administration. And we will cover as and when it is required in the features to implement it. And I'll give you a brief overview, not in depth, but at least we'll have some high level overview of while we are implementing it. Now, the first question, where will I get all the recordings or the deck or the reference materials? So the two things that I want to mention, the first, in case you have not created it, create your GitHub account. And the reason for that is development is not something I can just summarize in the decks. So whenever and whatever topic requires some kind of a decks, you'll find the PDFs for them, the ones that I use. But other than that, everything is too much to be detailed out. And I want you to go through those details. And that is why we are using the GitHub. So I will grant you access after this session. I'll share the link to the OneDrive folder as well, where for temporarily I'll be keeping all the recordings. Recordings will be available to you even after you complete the session or the course entirely, at least for next 2-3 weeks. But I would suggest whenever possible, at least for the entire week, download the recording so that you can refer later as well. Recordings are lifelong, you do not have to worry about it. But definitely content you'll need to download so that at least you'll have an access. Get access also you'll have it. So how do I navigate? So you'll get an access to SFDC Dev 401 folder. And in this folder, you will be able to see there are a lot of subfolders. So the first one is a case study. The case study will have the one which we will be discussing, that is going to be a hotel booking system. So how you step by step configure the data model, how the project goes in, what are the artifacts that we generate. So it's not only going to be the development, it is also going to be understanding how we actually configure and then build the entire end-to-end application so that you are ready for your projects. It's not only talking about how you go just jump in and start development. So this is the case study that we will be discussing, not today, don't worry, but definitely this is crucial to understand how to translate your requirements, understand which feature to use, and then implement your Salesforce development part of it. The second thing is all the code, the classes or anything that I will be using and will be creating along with any additional frameworks that I want to share with you guys will be present in the code base. So in the code base, you'll find the code that you can use as is. So you can copy and paste the class as is and you can use it. Rather, I'll suggest you to type it because the more you write, the more you'll get used to the syntax. So copy paste is easy option, but if you look at it and then read it and write it, it will be more beneficial for you. But it is there. So everything will be provided to you in the code base. Along with that, you'll also have the documentation. This is a documentation where you will be using your topic details. So every topic that we will be going through is documented thoroughly in here. So you'll be able to go through and read. Now, this is very difficult to cover up in a PowerPoint, and that is a very reason you will not have too many of decks. And I don't want to go through to the text. I want something that will be useful for you in case you want to go back and revisit. So your documentation will have all the technical details, all additional supplements, or let's say additional training materials you want to go through will be available in here. Then you also have another, that is your frameworks. These will be the best practices, reusable frameworks which we'll be using in the session, but not only within the session, even after you complete the course, you want to reuse them, you can just reuse them as is in your projects as well. So these will be the frameworks which you can carry along with you throughout. So that's the frameworks folder. And then you have your homework. So in the homework, you will have the homework for each of the topics along with for each week what you need to complete. So for example, for today, you need to set up your training org, and that is documented in here how to do that. So you'll just need to complete this one. Then you'll have to also set up your Visual Studio Code so that you can use it and leverage it. So all these things you just need to go through and follow. Homework will have the scenarios where it will have a business challenge, what is expected, additional business requirements. You might need to do some assumptions to implement them, but it will have everything that you need to implement it. All this needs to be built in your developer environment. And that is where you will also be discussing the solutioning part of it. In case you are stuck, I'll provide at the end of the week solutions for that week's homework, not immediately, because I want you to try and do it on your own. So I will be providing solutions for all the homework, but at the same time, you need to first give it a try. So this is your navigation for your 401. So this folder will be accessible to you. I'll keep on updating it. So you will have the latest features and everything throughout, at least after 1 or 2 months. After that, even if you need the access, you just need to let me know and I can grant you the access as well. So it's not something that is going to go away from you. It will stay with you. So reference material will always be with you. Recordings, as I mentioned, I'll give you a OneDrive access where all the recordings will be posted. And from there, you just need to download them on a weekly basis. But as I mentioned, even after completion of the course, at least 2 weeks, you will have the access to the entire folder. So even if you are not able to do it immediately, you can do it on the later stages as well. So that's how we are going to study. But for now, let's get back to the main thing that we want to learn about. So Salesforce is a cloud computing multi-tenant environment, which means you can have multiple instances shared across your different clients, the customers. When you share the instances, there are certain limitations because when I talk about a cloud computing, it means everything is shared resource, including your infrastructure, which is your servers where I'm hosting, the power of computation I might require, the databases where the data will be stored, or in the instances that you are currently using will have some base data model. We will be also talking about what is a data model, what is a Salesforce platform. But remember this, whenever you're talking about a cloud computing and a multi-tenant environment, you will always have some boundaries which you need to respect. So before we delve more into Salesforce platform architecture, few things and introduction about myself, and definitely I would love to hear from you so that we have a better understanding of each other. But my name is Sheetal. I have been in industry for 17 plus years now. I was working as a technical architect and a global delivery head for multiple MNCs. And now I'm a complete freelance corporate trainer. So I will be a trainer throughout these sessions. In case you have any questions, anything, you can also follow me on LinkedIn. I have also posted a lot of blogs. I have been mentor for quite a lot of time. But overall, it's been a very smooth journey for me. But at the same time, there were some hiccups. And also, I am non-IT. I have completed my BE in civil engineering and then I have switched into Salesforce. So, no reason to think about if I am from non-IT background, will I be able to do it? As far as you're willing, you're able to spend at least 3 hours daily while you're starting on the training and learning. Definitely, you will be there. So, there is no barrier other than yourself. Just make sure whatever we have, everything, homeworks, the recordings, you do go ahead, revisit, and then continue. Also, I will be giving you some trailheads. Definitely, I'm not a big fan of trailheads because it gives you one by one, step by step, but still, some projects I will give you from trailheads as well. So, make sure you complete the homeworks on time. Otherwise, you'll keep on piling up the work and then it will be difficult to follow the case study. So there might be two different case studies. The one which I will be using throughout the session would be different, and the one which you need to work and complete your homework for, that will be a different case study. The reason for that is to understand better. Otherwise, you will be just implementing and understanding requirements from my perspective. And I want you to get a feel of how the actual projects on your enterprise organizations work. Few ground rules to be followed. Since it's an online session, make sure you are always on mute unless it is really required. You can ask as many times as the questions, even if it's a repeat question. Don't hesitate to ask. It's okay. Maybe in some later weeks, I might also ask you to have some video sessions. And the reason for that is I want to make sure you're interactive enough. Homework completion is something that will help you to understand the next topic properly. Otherwise, in development, everything is very coupled with the previous session. So the tight coupling between the sessions will help make sure you understand back session before we moving forward. So every session, every word, everything that we are learning is important. Again, the invite is exclusively for you. Do not forward without telling me. Do not share the content unless you have a confirmation from me or the institute. But that's it. No other things. You can ask as many questions as I asked, and believe me, there is no question that is silly. It's just like for a time being, I don't know it. Looking at the time, we might park it and we might address at the end, or maybe for that week's question, we'll have a Friday, a half session where we'll dedicate everything to your questions or your homeworks, which we'll be reviewing. So, definitely, let's start our journey. But before we start our journey, what do you understand as a Salesforce developer? How it is different from the one that you usually have, or any kind of a developer? So, a developer is basically a purpose of customization, a means to achieve the customization. So, as the Salesforce platform and its ecosystem continue to evolve, it is very crucial and important for Salesforce developers to stay current with the latest developments and advancements in this field. This also includes staying up to date with the new features and functionalities, as well as learning new skills and technologies that can help you to be more effective in the role. So, as a career, a Salesforce developer can be highly rewarding, providing opportunities to work on challenging and more interesting projects to make meaningful impact on the success of your businesses and your organizations, definitely. So, if you're passionate about technology and you enjoy solving complex problems, this career as a Salesforce developer definitely would be a great fit for you. So, a developer, if you want to understand, his day starts with understanding the requirements, which are the requirements or the problems you are trying to solve for your customer. So you pick a problem, you try to solutionize it, you try to coordinate with your customer, then you come up with a design, how you want to implement it. After design, there is a development where you actually implement it. Then you do the unit testing, then there is a thorough testing by your testing teams. We also have the user acceptance testing where you want to involve and make sure that your users are aligned with what you are developing. So I am not developing for my own purpose. It is a development that is to solve a business problem. So they need to feel like, okay, this is what I was looking for. And that is why it is important to get their sign offs on all these stages. And then you finally release that specific feature, enhancement, or the entire function to your end users, application end users. So consider it as a new patch that is released on your mobiles or laptops or even your applications that you use. Maybe in your games that you have, WhatsApp, we also get a release updates. All these are part of your development. So there is a core development team who works on this. But a developer needs to perform multiple roles. Always remember, you cannot be a developer or just a developer. You will always be tester, administrator, and also end user. Because unless you put yourself in business shoes, you'll not be able to understand requirements. You also now need to understand some additional skills. So it's not only technical now, there are some core skills required for your Salesforce developer role. So, what are those skills? First, you need to have the basic overview of object oriented programming. Will it be beneficial? Definitely. Will it harm if I don't have it? Not that much, but definitely you should have some base level understanding. We will be covering from the Apex perspective or the Salesforce perspective, how the object oriented programming applies to. But definitely, I'll give you some references you should go through and you try to understand what exactly object oriented programming is. No need to go in too much of details and get overwhelmed, but definitely base knowledge. Other than that, you also need to understand what are the web services, how web services work, HTML, JavaScript, jQuery, DevOps. Now we are using the versioning because lot of developers and lot of testers, lot of roles are in the ecosystem. We do not want our application to lose the changes developed by other teams. That's why we have the DevOps, so that my development and operation team can align and they make sure everything is streamlined and whatever I am developing is reaching out to production safely. That's where your DevOps comes into the picture. So versioning through Git, tools like Capado, and so many other tools like Flossom, and you can pick anyone or depends on the business that you're working with or the customer you're working with. But these are specific general skills which you should have a base understanding for. Then you need to have the Salesforce skills, which are administration. What do you mean by administration? Everything that can be implemented in Salesforce through point and click. Data modeling, customizing, lightning, all these things are part also of your development. So development doesn't only need writing the code. Development also is now writing low or no code, which means you need to understand the platform's capabilities for the configuration. So it is a combination of a configuration and customization. Then you have specific language constraints, which means I need to understand how to perform development in Salesforce. And that's where your Apex, Visual Force, SOQL, and SOSL will come into the picture. And then more advanced topics like Lightning, where Aura, LWC, you keep on going and you'll have the more detail. But for now, that will be the scope of our coverage in your development platform. On top of it, every developer must possess basic etiquettes about business communication, how to perform and how to coordinate what I'm thinking, what is the design, why this design is structured in this way, why this feature, what will be the repercussions if I don't perform the impact analysis. So you need to constantly communicate with internal teams, your stakeholders, your customers, and maybe sometimes your end users as well. So you need to have the at least basic communication skill. You do not need to be a pro, but at least you should be able to communicate what you are thinking clearly to technical as well as non-technical people. And last but not the least, you also need to work on and think about agile fundamentals, which are nothing but how do you use the scrums? What are the user stories? What are the epics that you built? Or what are the tools which are like Jira, Rally? Now, tools knowledge, you cannot be specific because based on the projects and customer, these tools vary. There is no specific tool that every customer will use. But at least for development, there will be a specific tool that will be using. Versioning and other project management, everything will differ. So I might use Jira, your project might use Rally or some other tool, or maybe Salesforce DevOps as well. So it is a journey that you're gonna be starting. Right now, you are under zero. So the zeroth aspect is where I need to build my teamwork management. I need to be approachable. I need to be communicative and I have to have a problem solving attitude. So coding is all about logic. It's not about the syntax. It's not about the technical language or platform that you're building it. It's all about the logic. And logic means how efficiently I can understand the requirement. I can think about if what is behind that one statement and transfer it into the five different requirements which needs to be built as a part of that and then choosing the right feature to implement that. In the entire journey, you'll always be integrated with a lot of different teams, how you are working as a team member. That is also one of the core strength of any developer. So we don't want to focus on being a solo developer. We are always part of the team. And teamwork is crucial for any project delivery. If you do not communicate properly, there will be a lot of loopholes and you will find yourself in trouble in the later phases. So, this is what a journey of a developer will look like, and this is what we are going to cover. So, we are going to start with the basics, which are your OOPS concepts, which are from Apex perspective, not the general OOPS concept, but how do you apply that, or what are the things and how they translate into Apex language. Then we'll talk about how to fetch data, retrieve the data that you have saved in the databases. How can you use visual elements to build? That could be through use Visual Force, Lightning Aura, or your LWC components as well. Then we will talk about in entire journey, enterprise applications have multiple systems. How do I integrate those through web services? So we'll have some part of the SOAP and REST as well. What are the different types of APIs Salesforce allows? How can you consume them? Not everything in detail, but at least we'll understand what are the different APIs and when to use which APIs. Then, in order to understand LWC, you should have a base knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, along with some Angular JS. And lastly, the jQuery. These ninth and eighth, these are something which you will be covering at this stage. Before that, you may not require that much. But to build the Lightning Web Components, you should have the basic awareness of how the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery works. Because the more advanced topics we are getting into in Salesforce, nowadays, these are the primary skills for development as well. So you can think about we are moving into even in Salesforce as a full stack developer, where I can build my website, I can build the components visually, plus the backend logic and integration as well. That's what a developer does. Now, do I need to do everything in my project? Maybe, maybe not. Depending on the type of project you're working on, you may need to work on few of them, not all of them. But here we are going to cover everything, some topics in very depth, some topics at least an overview. So now let's think about the Salesforce platform overview. So as we discussed, Salesforce is a cloud computing multi-tenant platform, which means I don't have to worry about my infrastructure or upgrades to the language or platform. Everything is taken care by your Salesforce. But why Salesforce? Why not some other CRM? We have so many CRMs in the system. We also have a sugar CRM. Why we should go with or why customers prefer Salesforce as a CRM? So everything is based in cloud. Cloud computing. That's what the purpose of a cloud is. So when I say cloud computing, it means my server is based where I cannot see it, not in cloud. Because Salesforce runs entirely in the cloud on its sophisticated, secure infrastructure, there's no need to spend precious time maintaining your hardwares and softwares, unlike previous architecture building, where I need to take care of everything. Plus, since it's a SaaS application, which means software as a service, setup is fast and inexpensive. I have an application, just purchase it and just start using it. If you need advanced functionality, that's where your customization or coding comes into the picture. The second and most important aspect is it is scalable. So with Salesforce, pricing is based on number of users. That is called as an on-demand or subscription-based model. Subscribe to only the features which you want to use. Unlike where I used to purchase Microsoft Office and out of 10 in that suite, I'm only using PowerPoint and Excel. But it cannot be sold as a standalone. So I have to entirely purchase the suite. So in current situation, we do not have that. So right now, I can even go for only the Word or Excel. That is the power of on-demand subscription-based model. So pay only for what you are using, not for something that I'm not going to use ever in my system. It is easy to use. Why? Point and click. Configuration. And now we are moving into low-code tools. So even your administrators and even developers do not try to need, let's say, I'll not say 100%, but at least 60-70% can be done with the low-code tools. And no need to be pro to build customizations. So all the purpose of this is I want to make sure I don't need or I'm not bottlenecked on the skills. Previously, a developer has to have all the skills that we discussed prior. But right now, we are in a situation where we can move forward even with the admin skills, and I can translate from my requirements into coding. The low code tools help even the admins to build the coding. But for advanced customization, you still need the developers, which are advanced developers, which are pros. So integrations, I'll need pro. So there are some things where you still need, but there are some things which I can automate automatically using low code, no code tools. So automatic updates, upgrades. In these cases, users benefit from the simultaneous software updates for the best new features. So it's a shared platform. Everyone will have and receive the same kind of features upgrades. But at the same time, my data is secure. It's not shared. So platform features are shared, but my data customization that I am building on my platform, that is not shared. The releases. So we said like, okay, I don't need to spend my time on maintaining hardware and software upgrades, but at least I'll need some new features, new enhancements, bug fixes. How will I release them? So Salesforce automatically releases them in the spring, summer, and winter. There are three releases which they have. Apart from that, they also have some bug fixes which are released occasionally based on the criticality and severity of your defects. Salesforce has a proven record of innovation. So they align with the current trends in the market. That reassures businesses that their systems and services are future proof. They are not lacking behind or they are not lagging in the running growth of your technology. So if I'm talking about AI models or ML models, I also have ChatGPT kind of features in Salesforce where I can implement prompt builders to automatically generate your emails as well. And that's why Salesforce is a preferred choice for CRM. Now, there are some key terminologies. If you are already familiar with Salesforce, you are already aware of these. But in case you do not have any familiarity with Salesforce prior, there are some terms which you need to just understand. And these will be very commonly being used throughout our sessions as well. Salesforce is a software as a service, as well as it also provides infrastructure as a service. What does this mean? These means like your cloud computing models can be offered in multiple ways. So the services can be in the form of infrastructure. So I have a server, I'm renting out a server. If I have application, I'm giving you an application to use with the subscription. That's why these are called as a software as a service. Platform as a service means Salesforce is giving you a platform to build and customize your application. Development platform. When I talk about your infrastructure as a service, your servers are already provided by them. So you don't have to worry about them. But how these all things fit together? So in Salesforce, the first and most important thing is whenever you request a Salesforce environment, that is nothing but an instance. So think about they have been working on a common platform, and whenever you say, okay, I need my dedicated instance, they will just create a copy for you and they'll provide you that instance. In this instance, you will be building your configuration and customization. So you will have the application which you will be building for your customers. So if you take a business domain where you have a hotel management, the central reservation system, all the features which are required for my central reservation system will be grouped under my CRM or let's say CRS system or application. So an application is nothing but logical grouping of commonly used features for a specific business requirement or a business function. Salesforce provides you both applications which are configured as a part of their software as a service, or you can also have, similar to how you have your Google App Store, the App Exchange, which allows you to download and use the ready to use developed by vendor based applications. So I have a problem, I have built a solution for it, and I'm publishing it on my App Exchange. I can download and use it. Similar to how you use WhatsApp or any other application, you just download and start using it. So App Exchange is marketplace for Salesforce. Then I have instance. Instance is nothing but my dedicated space in the Salesforce ecosystem. So think about it as an infrastructure as a service where I'm getting a dedicated space on that server. That's it. That's your instance. The super pod is nothing but, even though I am not managing it, Salesforce needs to think about the load balancing and framework servers to be managed. So how Salesforce manages those in a cloud-based multi-tenant environment? They uses the framework or the architecture called as super pods. For now, you do not need to go much details, but just remember there is a super pod concept which helps Salesforce with the arrangement of all the servers, stack balancers, and infrastructure services those are required to keep your applications up and running 24 by 7. Then you have an organization. So the instance is my space where on server, which server my space is allocated on, because we are saying it's a global presence. So I can have my servers in Europe, US, APAC, anywhere. Where is my server located on? Where is the space that I am getting? That is nothing but an instance. So if I'm saying my server is in North America and the server number where I'm getting an allocation space is NA21, that is your instance. And the application copy or the application instance that I am getting, that is called as an org. So I am a single consumer. So the consumer is referred as org. You can create many orgs in system. There are different types of org, but your applications are built within this organization and this org is hosted on this instance. So your orgs can be first, which are your live end user customer applications, or they could be the development environments where I'm actually development, testing, and UAT and all those stuff which is not required to be seen by end users is performed. In order to segregate the live data from your test data, we use the sandboxes. So this is copy of your production or live environment, but without messing up with the real data, I can continue my development and building of the new features or fixing of my issues if there are any. So just to summarize, out of these, what are the most commonly used terms? Except superpod, you will be very frequently using rest of the terms. Application, instance, organization, and sandbox. There are many more terms which we frequently use in Salesforce. So we have addition, which bundles the Salesforce product services, the features that you will be getting. Organization, which means I have a defined allocation on that server instance. Then you have the releases, which are nothing but which release I am currently on. So if let's say you have winter, summer, and spring, I can be on winter 25, winter 24. Winter 24 will have different set of features. Winter 25 will have advanced features, bug fixes, which are released as a part of it. So these are your patches, which are released with the new enhancements and products to enable you based on the votings and the features which are requested by the customers. Then you have App Exchange, that is your marketplace. Entire Salesforce provides you as a platform. So platform as a service for development. So I can create my own applications. I can build and deliver those applications to my end customers. Where is this built on? The platform as a service architecture that Salesforce allows now is called as a lightning platform. The force.com platform, if you hear, it's the same. Force.com means it's the platform that allows you to have the development where I can develop. So SaaS provides you an application that is ready to use, while PaaS provides you a platform to customize that application. That is nothing but your lightning platform. Then you have similar, again, app, which is a collection of similar features. For example, if I'm talking about an HR application, everything related to HR functions will be grouped under HR app. If I'm talking about application which is hotel reservation management, so in that case, I will have everything related to the reservations. Then I have object-oriented concepts like object and record. So object and record will cover detail, but for now, just remember the terms. That's it. Now, how the changes are released? Changes are released through features and enhancements. What are the features? Features and enhancements mean features could be new functionality that is required to keep it up with the market. Or these are the features which are frequently customized by my customers. So instead of letting them customize every time, I'll provide them as a feature inbuilt into my SaaS application. While enhancement means a feature already exists and I'm upgrading it, I'm enhancing it, adding more capabilities to it. That is called as an enhancement. And then the third part of it is where you have your defects. Defects means I released a feature, but it is not functioning as it is expected. So there is an issue with it. That is called as a defect. So you have feature, you have enhancement, and you have defects, also called as bugs sometimes. But all these three are part of your projects. Now, how those releases work? The Salesforce seasonal releases blog contains a wealth of information about upcoming releases. It includes links to release notes, what are the key releases, the trailhead modules are provided. There are a lot of preview videos. So in case like there are some features which you feel like, okay, this might disrupt my existing application. How will I understand it? So they provide you some pre-release access to the sandboxes so that you can evaluate the impact and then enable it in your environment. So every time Salesforce is committed to customer satisfaction. And for that, they need to continually improve the products. They need to align their features and enhancements with the market and staying ahead in a highly changing and volatile environment. So, as a Salesforce developer, you should know what is included in each version and when the release will occur. This helps you to take advantage of new feature. Maybe you have done a customization or you already estimated the customization, but you can see the feature is going to be released soon. So instead of doing the customization, you can just stay put and use the feature once it is released, unless it is way ahead in the release management. You can also find out when a problematic bug has been fixed, a defect that was very frequently encountered on your Salesforce platform that is now fixed by Salesforce. So you can share that good news with your teams. You can also anticipate how the new features and enhancements can help you improve, or they can also disrupt your existing customizations. So you have winter, spring, and summer. So if you click on this Salesforce release block, it contains all the latest features, enhancements for all the products Salesforce provides, not only simple single SaaS application for everything. We are just going to recap two things now. The first thing, one we started off with is understanding the Salesforce as a platform, how they release the things, what is a CRM and what is a cloud computing. So now if I'm talking about it's a CRM and it's a SaaS product, it needs to be catered to the customer requirements. And that is where your Salesforce product landscape is beneficial. So Salesforce provides not only the simple sales where you are focused on sales pipeline. How does a sales pipeline initiate? From the marketing. So the first stage is you have the marketing. From that, you get the references of the customers. You follow up with those customers. Those customers then tell you, okay, kindly share the quotation for the products that I'm interested in. Then you finalize the deal with the customer and the order is placed and then it is shipped. This is called as an entire end-to-end sales life cycle. So I can track entire sales life cycle in my Salesforce. Once it is sold, it goes into the customer service. So I can use the Service Cloud in Salesforce. Sales Cloud is a base platform version. So every time, whenever you request an environment or you're working on something which is not industry, you are basically working on Sales Cloud. Remember this, not very few developers know which environment they are actually working on. So you work on Sales Cloud. Service Cloud is additional license that you can use on top of Sales Cloud. So these two are on the same, you can say, platform. But marketing is a separate cloud. So you can integrate Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and Marketing Cloud. Then you also have the commerce. So B2B, B2C cases, I need specific functionalities like your shipment tracking, cancellations, returns, refunds, and all this. It is not required in terms of a sales and service. That's why they have a separate commerce platform, commerce cloud. You have a data cloud where we are now combining data from all the different instances so that everything has a complete 360-degree view. So all my data will be gathered and will be streamlined, processed, cleaned up in data cloud, and then you can feed it back into sales service or marketing or any type of a cloud that you are using in Salesforce. While working on enterprise, you will be working on combination of these. Sales is very common, service is very common. Marketing, commerce cloud, that could be depending on the customer requirement. You may not even need to interact with these, but at least these two are very frequent. For analytics, Salesforce has Tableau. Salesforce also provides native reports and dashboards, but if they are not sufficient, you can also use a Tableau. For integrations, either you can do it through the APIs or you can use the third-party systems like MuleSoft. So now Salesforce has acquired MuleSoft, so it is a part of your Salesforce ecosystem. But you can also use the others. It's not only limited to MuleSoft. Then you have the communication, collaboration. For that, you can use Slack. So Slack can be your communication channel. You can integrate with Salesforce and the reminders and everything, progress, everything can be tracked in here. To power up the entire Salesforce platform, we have Einstein 1 and AI to fuel up your productivity and improve the delivery of your projects. To efficiently manage your automatic suggestions or your next best product to your customers. How your sales rep can automatically, based on the pattern observed on your customers, can select and suggest the product to be used. So that is called as an upselling or cross-selling. So if you buy a computer, they will also ask like, okay, you combine the keyboard, external keyboard and mouse, you'll get further discount. If you also go for docking station, you'll get another 20% off. This is called bundling of the products, and that's where your CPQ and other clouds also are in picture. So all these are nothing but your products which are catered to the requirements over the period of time, observing patterns of the customer delivery. So it is suitable for your small to complex, any kind of deliveries. It's not only applicable to the enterprises, but also for the small businesses. And that is where it separates it. On top of it, it is very easy to be trained in Salesforce. So your business doesn't have to worry about complex trainings or too much of lengthy trainings into regular application developments. So with each release and enhancements, it is very easy for them to train their end users onto that. Salesforce also provides some basic frameworks. What are the basic frameworks? So I have been using Sales Cloud, which is my core platform. But I'm into hotel management, hospitality basically. So hospitality has a base process. Your hotel management, your reservation management, cancellations and refund management, promotional events, marketing, everything. But no matter which type of a hospitality client you work with, they will all have the specific entities that they define. So for example, hotels, they will be same. Agents, vendors, bookers, all will be same. So every time, instead of customizing my Sales Cloud, let me provide them the feature which is inbuilt in my capability itself. So what I have done is I have wrapped up my Sales Cloud and now I'm calling it and designing it, tailoring it to fit a specific business domain requirement. That is where your industry landscape is in picture. Industry landscape provides industry specific pre-built applications. Definitely again built on top of Sales Cloud. But if I want to go with the healthcare, once you purchase healthcare Salesforce environment, you will immediately understand and you will see patient, healthcare, and healthcare workers, hospitals, rather than generic Salesforce application terms like account, contact, or opportunity. So if I already have the base level framework, I just need to customize it and tailor it for my further requirements. It is much easier rather than starting from scratch. And that's where your industry landscape was introduced. So for each business domain, they have already a framework designed for business functions, which they commonly follow, the processes that they follow, and they will be using directly it. So if you go into your energy, you will find it very easy to use. If you go into healthcare, you'll find all the patient cards and everything I can easily built in. Along with that, you can use your prior product landscapes as well. So Einstein One platform will be still there. I can still use MuleSoft. I can still use AI, but it is just tailored to the requirements of the specific industry. So that's the product landscape and the industry landscape. Now, most important thing, I'm talking about enterprise level projects. Why do I need so many instances then? I'm talking about like I need an org. Why do I need an org? Why do I need to purchase Salesforce? So before moving into the depth of Salesforce, let's think about a typical project management. How a typical project is delivered. A project typically starts with the first phase, that is your discovery. So discovery is a phase where you actually gather requirements from your customer. You then document those requirements, you get a sign off, and then you move into a design phase. Design is based on the requirements you have gathered. So you propose a design, how the to be architecture would be. Once you have that, then you actually start your deployment, or let's say development. So deployment or development means there is a one specific feature which I am now starting to develop. Every developer will get their set of requirements and they'll start working on it. Now, it will pass through different features. So a project is basically a combination of different features and functions, similar to your application. So all these features will then be released as a part of a project. Could be a phase one, phase two, or MVP1, MVP2, whatever you want to call it. So the project will then have the quality assurance and all those things. UAT will pass, SIT will pass, and then it will finally be deployed into your production. So it goes through deployment, testing, release, and operate mode. Operate mode means once it is live, now I need to start providing the customer service. Maybe enhancement, releases, bug fixes, and all those. Now, this environment is actually my final release environment. One of the most important parts of any SDLC is, or software development lifecycle, is testing of the code. But I cannot directly do it on the live environment, which is my final application being used by my Salesforce developers, or let's say end users in this case. So, end user, as an end user, if WhatsApp keeps on publishing and they are putting up some alerts and some debugs, you'll be annoyed while using the application. So, sometimes it will work, sometimes it will fail. And that is why we do not want to interfere directly with my end user's application. I want to develop, test it, test thoroughly, get a sign off from customers saying that, okay, yes, this is what the feature I'm looking for. Then only final product will be released or feature will be released into my application. That's where your patches are. So new upgrade is available. That upgrade is nothing but I have developed, deployed, tested, and now it is ready to be released to the end customers. So the entire process of planning, coding, building, testing, and release needs to go through different types of stages and how they operate. So if you want to ability to make changes without affecting your live application, then you need to add additional environments. These environments are called development environments. They are typically local environments, either for development, staging, testing, or release. How many environments I need is up to the project I'm working with, the complexity of the project, the setup of your customers. It completely depends on the project you're working on. But definitely, minimum, I will need something where I will be coding. That is my development. So this could be my first environment. The build and test. That means I will need the build where I will be merging my code with other teams. So I will need second environment. Then team one, team two, both have worked on two different features. It is now combined. Now my project is completed. I want to test it. So I need something that business can test without developers being interfering. Otherwise, I'll continue working on the next feature and my business is testing it. It will interfere and they will not be able to see the actual result. And that is why even before production release, I want a segregation between the development environment, testing environments where testers are testing, and the user is testing. So at least I'll need three plus the final, that is my production environment. So four environments are at least or bare minimum requirements for any project to function properly. Why? So in this case, if you look at the environment, what am I talking about? So in terms of Salesforce, environment is nothing but, as we saw, it's an allocated Salesforce application secured for you on that instance. So it's an instance of your force.com platform that is allocated to tenant. Tenant is you. You requested, so you got it. How do you access it? Through username and password. That is what is called as an org. So if you keep on hearing me saying org or environment, that means I am talking about your instance of force.com platform. All these environments are used for multiple purposes: application development, application testing, or maybe storing data and metadata. So the previous cycle that we used for each of them will have each one org or environment. Each environment. Now I'm talking about multiple orgs. But if I'm getting an instance, how will I uniquely identify it? That's where you need a org ID. So an org ID uniquely identifies the org that has been allocated to you. Because if I'm talking about an instance, on that same instance, since it's a multi-tenant, there will be multiple tenants allocated on that. So if I'm talking about NA27 may have altogether hundreds of users or tenants who are specifically sharing that server. So if I'm talking about so many, how will I identify which org is mine? That's where your org ID is uniquely assigned. So you have two types of environments basically. The first one, that is your live environment, which is called as a production environment. This is actual environment where your business and other end users will access the application. We do not do any developments in production environment. There are some features you even cannot edit in production environment. You'll have to go through the lower environments and then promote them to the final production environment. But till that time, you at least need this production environment. Before production environment, there is a development environment. This development environment is name, or it's a term that is used as a development environment. Purpose of these could be for your actual developments, your testing, your deployments, or user acceptance testing as well. It could be anything, but the term that we use is for all these is development environment. So all these types of development environments are classified into two. The one that we will be creating will be developer edition, and the other one are called as the sandboxes. These sandboxes are your copy of production environment, which means I have a live environment, but think about a scenario on real life. I have built the WhatsApp application. Now I want to upgrade. But in order to upgrade, I need to have access to the existing functionality. If I don't have access to existing data or let's say existing application, how will I upgrade it? And that is where your sandboxes are useful. So why we need an org? We need an org as a sandbox to use and build this specific requirement. So if you look at this one, production is your live environment. Then I might have a staging, which is a pre-prod kind of environment where I'm signing off from my customers, UAT environment. Then I have the integration environment. And then I have individual developer environments. All these, in terms of real life projects, are referred as sandboxes. So these are developer sandboxes. This is staging, that is a full sandbox. You have different types of sandboxes. We'll talk about it later. But for now, just remember you have one live environment. And from this live environment, I will be then creating all these lower level sandboxes. Now it could be three, it could be one, these could be two, three more. But with every production environment, you only get one staging, or that is full sandbox. As a Salesforce developer, your job is to code, and other tools you need to use to customize and configure your org to support your business requirement. The org is overall environment that you are building in your platform. So you'll also need a test environment that lets you develop and test your code safely. That is where the below pipeline is. Production environments are accessed through login.salesforce.com, which is now changed since we have my domain with the lightning. And sandbox environments are always on test.salesforce.com. So if you see .my in your environment instance URL, you will immediately understand this is a production environment. Test environment also have a word that is sandbox name on your environment once you log in into it. But for now, just remember, Salesforce environment refers to organization that is used by a customer for a specific purpose. Each customer can also have their own multiple instances of the org. I can have multiple orgs and I can then connect the orgs. Each tenant can also have multiple orgs. But where do you do a development? You will be doing development in this environment on these specific orgs. All right. So for today, we'll stop here. These are the types of Salesforce orgs. Tomorrow, we are gonna learn more about what are each of these specific sandboxes that we are referring to, and what are the different licensing and platform additions Salesforce enables you to work with. All right. I'll share the final folder and all the details what we have discussed till now, along with the GitHub access link and the folder link to you. All right, but just make sure, like in case you are not using the email that you have given me for the Git, just let me know so that I can grant access to that email. Otherwise, you will not be able to access it.